What is up, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite place to talk movies. I'm your host, Luce, and this is Real Talk Off Script. So, I did some thinking the last couple of days since I put out and recorded my last episode of the pod, and I got to thinking, I'm like, I really haven't had any main topics or like a full show talking about Avengers Doomsday, which is going to end up being the biggest movie of this year. I don't see any movie other than maybe Spider-Man Brand New Day coming remotely close to how big this movie is going to be. This is probably going to be a $2 billion movie, not just a $1.5 billion movie. Like I'm looking forward to it clocking about 2 billion, which was what I want to say the last two did. I think Infinity War made maybe 1.9 or something like that, but I know for sure Endgame is one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and we haven't gotten a Avengers movie since Avengers Endgame. So I thought, no better time than now to actually get into what is, like I said, going to be the biggest movie of the year. I do want to apologize to you guys beforehand. I do live downtown in the city that I'm in, and there's a lot of commotion going on outside. There's a lot of music playing. It seems like some kind of celebration out here. So if you hear music, I do apologize. Just to let you guys know off rip. But let's get into a couple of things that I have questions about regarding Avengers Doomsday. Let's just go down some of the topics. So one of the main things that I have a question for, or a question regarding, and I'm just genuinely interested in, is who the fuck is on the new team for the Avengers? I mean, the last time we saw them in a movie, of course, I guess you can say with an asterisk next to it, the new Avengers, which we saw in the Thunderbolts. Was that? I think it's last year. Time is flying by. I think so. Yeah, beginning of last year, we saw the Thunderbolts, and they were the quote unquote new Avengers. So we had that team. We know that team for sure. But at the end of that movie, they did say that Sam, who is the new Captain America, if you guys don't know, he is leading his own Avengers team. So my question is, for one, who is on Sam's team? We don't really know for a fact. We know it's him. We know he's leading it. But who's on that team? And I mean, is Doctor Strange on the team? Is Ant-Man on the team? Like who's all on his team? And I'm more so curious about when this movie starts or ends or finishes, is there going to just be one team now, or are there still two separate Avengers teams? And if there is one big team, who's leading that team? Because I know we know for a fact that Steve Rogers is coming back. Now we don't know what iteration this is. We don't know if this is the same Captain America that we know and love. Are they plucking one from a different universe? Is this the um Captain America that we're used to even before we got Sam as the new Cap? Is this actually the Steve Rogers that we've seen since the first Avenger? It definitely seems that way, 100%. But this movie's gonna get so freaky deaky with the timelines and quote unquote variants and all that shit. I honestly don't know at this point. So that's definitely a big question for me. And then, kind of to double back on what I already spoke about, who's gonna lead the team? Because if this is the Steve Rogers that we know and love, if this is the Steve Rogers from the first Avenger all the way up until now, Doomsday, is he gonna continue to let Sam run the team? Because I mean, we all would agree, I would think, that if there's a leader of the team, a de facto leader of the team, it probably goes Captain America and then right under that Iron Man. And it doesn't look like we're getting a actual Iron Man in this movie. I don't know for sure. I know there's a lot of rumors about who could show up under what circumstances and what we don't know. We do know RDJ is in the movie. Robert Downey Jr. is of course in the movie, but we don't know. We know he's playing Doom, but we don't know if he's not going to play Iron Man. We don't know. The variant thing gets a little tricky. So that's why I'm wondering if we're getting the Steve Rogers that we know and love back. Does he continue to let Sam run whatever his little side Avengers team is when they all come together to fight a common foe? Does Sam kind of let Steve Rogers pick up where he left off? I don't know. I'm very curious to see how that's gonna work. And as soon as I saw that Steve Rogers is coming back, that's the first thing I thought. Okay, so what about Sam now? Is gonna be two? Is it gonna be a co-lead? I don't know. 1A wouldn't be. I don't know. But that's definitely something I'm interested in and excited for, because one of my favorite superheroes, not only in the MCU but just in comics period, is Captain America. Now we got two of them, so it kind of three, because you got one, which is Sam, and then you got not Bucky. You got the little Walmart, the little value, the little value Captain America that we got from the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. We got him too, and then you got Steve Rogers coming back. So we really got three Captain Americas. How's that gonna work? So I'm definitely curious to see about that. So that's one thing. Who is on the new team? Now another thing that this is not something I'm curious about. This is just something that I'm selfishly hoping for. So I wrote down I want the stakes to be similar to Infinity War. And what I mean by that is in Infinity War, we had clear stakes. I mean, clear, crystal clear stakes. We knew how bad it would be if Thanos got his ashy little purple hands on the Infinity Stones. And when he did, it was such a what the fuck moment because they made the stakes clear. Like we knew for sure if he gets these stones, he fucking up everything. He killing a lot of people. I mean, he said it out of his own mouth. If I get these stones, I'm gonna snap my fingers. Half of everything, half of all life will cease to exist. I think that was his exact words. I think that was me quoting him verbatim. But the movie did such a good job, and not only they kind of set the stakes up in Infinity War, but of course we all knew if you had been watching since really the first Avengers in 2012 when they very first showed Thanos to us, we already knew what the fuck was going down because we some of Thanos's some not some of but the most famous Thanos storyline from the books is the Infinity Gauntlet. And then after that, the Infinity War run, of course. But the Infinity Gauntlet is what he really made his bread and butter. And we already knew that that would be his plan. He wanted to get the Infinity Stones. In the comics, he wanted to impress the I guess death personified. You can put it that way. But of course, we didn't get that in the movies. But I know they kind of hinted at it at the end of the first Avengers, where he said that to challenge them is to court death or whatever. So it can give us a little wink, wink, hint, hint, clue, clue. But we knew for a fact if he gets his hands on the stones, which he ended up doing, he was gonna fuck some shit up. And they kind of showed us throughout all the movies from the first time that we saw him in the first Avengers in 2012. Like I said, was that 2012? Yeah, it was 2012. But yeah, we saw him slowly starting to get closer and closer to his grand plan, and we already knew what the fuck was going down in this movie essentially, and they made a good job of making the stakes clear. The one thing that I'm kind of curious about and worried about is, are they doing a good enough job with setting up Doomsday for us to know what the stakes are? Of course, me as a comic reader, of course, me as a film of the MCU and everything regarding superheroes and all that shit, I know what the stakes are. So for me going into the movie, I already know how this is about to go. And I already know a lot of the decisions that characters may or may not make based on the comic run of the same, well, very similar storylines. I know the MCU takes its own liberties with a lot of the comics storylines, but I already know if they follow this storyline even loosely, as far as the incursions and battle world and all that shit, because there's, for y'all that don't know, there's two different runs for Secret Wars. There's one from the 80s and there's one from the 2010s. I'm curious of that as well. I didn't make that a topic, but I'll just let you guys know now. I'm very curious to see, are they gonna sway closer to the 1980s version of Secret Wars, or are they gonna steer closer to the 2010s version? If I had to guess, I would think they're probably gonna do a mixture of both and just kind of cherry pick all the storylines that they do or the character arcs that they like from both and just put them together into one movie. But even still, without me explaining it to you guys, which I guess I probably have to, I kind of got to put y'all on games, the whole point of the podcast. But without explaining it to you guys, just off of what you guys know, take a second and think. Do you even know what Doomsday is about? I'll wait. Give a couple more seconds. I'm sure you don't. I'm sure y'all don't. And that's my thing. That's something I'm kind of worried about. They did such a good job of setting up Thanos and setting up whatever he wanted his journey to be and how he wanted his character to end up. They did such a good job showing us that in Infinity War. I'm kind of just hoping that they find a way to do that with Doomsday. I know we only get one Marvel movie before we get Doomsday, and that's Spider-Man Brand New Day a little later in the year. Well, really coming up in a couple of months now, to be honest. Time is really flying by this year. But we only got one Marvel film. Oh, well, actually, I think we got a couple of Disney Plus Marvel specials coming up, a couple of series. But I don't think they're going to touch on what's going on in Doomsday too much. I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't really heard anything regarding them yet. But I still feel like the audience has not been sold. Even though I know we're all going to be there, I still feel like the audience has not been sold on exactly what to expect from Doomsday, what the villain's goals are, which is Doctor Doom, of course. And it's really just leaving it up to people like me to get online and tell you guys and kind of fill in all the context that they left out. I'm really, really hoping that when this movie does come out and we see it, I want the stakes to feel similar to Infinity War. And I know I did a lot of talking just to get back to the same point, but we finally saw, well, not finally, but we don't get to see this often, but in Infinity War, we saw the villain succeed, which isn't something that we're accustomed to seeing as an audience. Like I said, we saw Thanos get the stones, we saw him snap successfully, we saw him kill half of all living life or living whatever however you want to call it, organic life. I think that's how they said it in the movie. Half of it literally disappeared in front of our eyes. So they did this whole setup since the first Avengers in 2012 for this character. We knew what he wanted. We knew he had a plan of how he's gonna get it, and we watched him succeed. We watched him beat the Avengers. I would say single-handedly. He had a little team with him. You know, he had a couple of aliens rocking with him, but he ended up being successful, and he snapped his fingers, and that was it. We don't see that often in movies, and that was just the end of the movie. There was no stinger. There was no, well, there was after credit scene, but it was still just reiterating the fact that Thanos won. And knowing how, cause see, I'm kind of torn. Like I want to kind of fill y'all in on how this story could go, but I don't want. I don't really. I want y'all to be surprised. Like even with Infinity War when it came out, I knew damn well Thanos was gonna get the stones, snap his fingers. I just didn't know how he was gonna do it, and that's what made it interesting for somebody like me. But to like a lot of people who maybe listen to this podcast, y'all have no idea on what incursions are and why Secret Wars are such a big thing, and Battle World and God Emperor Doom. Y'all don't know shit about none of that. So I kind of wanna, I kind of want to leave it up to y'all just to experience day one or whenever y'all go see this movie. I do want to leave it up to y'all, but I do want y'all to know that if you had to ask me, yes, I'm saying I want the stakes to feel similar to Infinity War, but if I had to guess, I'm thinking it's gonna be there because it's a lot of stuff, a lot of shit that happens in the Secret Wars comic books. Is going if they adapt 30% of it, y'all jaw's gonna be on the floor. I'm just gonna put it like put it like that. It's a lot of shit that could happen in the movie just based off of the comics. That boy, if they put that shit on film and they pull it off, it's gonna be up there with Infinity War. So that's one of the things that I was really curious about and looking forward to as far as the stakes being similar to Infinity War and Endgame for the matter. So moving on from that, another thing that I'm really curious to see how they pull off is the competition. Well, I don't want to say the competition, but the rivalry between Reed Richards, Dr. Reed Richards, and Dr. Doom. Now, for y'all that don't know, they are like bitter rivals. Like they are like fucking Prince and Michael Jackson. I was just talking about those two like a couple hours ago with my family. So that's the first thing that came to mind. They are like Prince and Michael Jackson. They are both great at what they do. They are both very different at what they do, and they both go about what they do very differently. And that's to say the least. Doctor Doom is, some people sympathize with him or empathize with him because with all the crazy shit that he's did or done in the comics, he's also done like a lot of good stuff for even his people in his, fictional country of Latveria. The people that live in Latveria, they literally worship this dude down there like a god because he does so much for them and he cares about them so much. He's not just one of those leaders that's like drunk on power. Like he actually does genuinely give a fuck about the people in his country, and he would do anything to protect them or make sure they're good to go. Like as far as policies, like I think he even made it so even if he gets too drunk on power, he has like different fail safes and everything to essentially get him the fuck out of power in his own country. That's how much he cares about their well-being. But it doesn't change the fact that he fucking murders people. He steals from people. Like there's so many other things that he does that make Doctor Doom so fucked up. And then you got Reed Richards on the other hand, who is kind of similar. Yeah, he doesn't kill people and all the other stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's storylines that I've never read where he does. But we more so look at Doctor Doom as the villain, Reed Richards as the hero. But if you kind of strip them both down to just how their characters work and what makes them tick and what keeps them up at night, they're very similar characters. And that kind of makes them always butt heads. I mean, even with Reed Richards' wife, I mean, Sue Storm, it's always a little, I don't want to say a jealousy thing from Doctor Doom, but there has been storylines where that's 100% what it is. He wish he ended up with Sue Storm, but Reed Richards is there, and that's another reason why Doctor Doom don't fuck with him. They even adapted that in the early, I don't want to say the early, But the second Fantastic Four movie, not the one from the '90s, but the first real take on the Fantastic Four from the early 2000s. But yeah, they are like fucking like bitter rivals. And my thing is, this is our first time seeing this Reed Richards, who was played by Pedro Pascal. We just saw him in Fantastic Four last year. This is our first time seeing him and Doctor Doom square off. And I'm just a little confused. Like I understand that there's something bigger at play here with this movie as far as why they casted Robert Downey Jr. But my thing is, if I had to bet money on it, I would bet that this iteration of Doctor Doom, if we even get this iteration moving forward, this is not going to be the one that we should get used to. This is going to be Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom in two movies, which is Doomsday, and then the sequel to Doomsday next year, which is Secret Wars. I don't think we're seeing. If I had to guess, if I had to put my money on it, I don't think we're seeing Robert Downey Jr. play him moving forward. So that's why I'm like, I'm kind of curious, like with them having the relationship that they have, for them to be button heads, for them to be bitter rivals, like I said, we're only gonna get to see that for two movies. So I'm hoping that the Russo brothers can find a way to really pull it off to make us understand. Of course, like I said once again, I'm a big comic reader, so I understand how deep it goes for them. Like when I say bitter rivals, I'm putting it lightly. Like they are each other's equals. I'll put it like that on both sides of the scale. So I wish I could just see and live in that and see it on the big screen for more longer than just two movies. So I don't know, and this cast is so stacked. There's so many people that's gonna be in this movie. I'm really hoping that we get a chance to see them go back and forth, whether it's a meeting of the minds type of thing, whether it's just them disagreeing on. See, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil shit. That's why it's so hard for me to do this episode. That's why I've taken so long to not talk about Doomsday, because I don't want to spoil it for y'all. This storyline could be so good just based off of the books. If they, like I said, just 30-40% of what happened in the comics, if they were to put that on the big screen and pull it off, it's so much that I want to talk about, but I'm trying to tiptoe around shit so I don't spoil stuff for y'all. But I just want to see how they go about this issue, which is the incursions and everything, like the universe kind of imploding on itself. I would love to see how Reed is going to go about things, and I definitely want to see how Dr. Doom is going to go about things. And that's what's going to make this movie more interesting. I would put it like this. If I had to compare it to something just that I know for sure you guys have seen, if y'all remember how Thanos and Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man at the time, if you remember when they square off and had their 101 on, I think it was Titan, the planet of Titan. When they had their square off, when I can't remember the exact verbiage, I can't remember the exact quote, but I think they were kind of going back and forth with Robert Downey Jr. or Iron Man was telling him, like, essentially, I've been planning for this day because I knew somebody like you was going to, essentially, we would have to deal with somebody like you, which is Thanos. Iron Man talking to Thanos. And Thanos already knew who Iron Man was as well. Iron Man didn't know who Thanos was. He just knew somebody was out there like him who was capable of doing what Thanos was capable of. So he was always planning for him. But Thanos already knew that somebody like Iron Man existed because he was planning for him too. And it was like such a quick glimpse at a real rivalry. Even though Iron Man and Thanos has never really had a real rivalry in the comics that you can kind of circle back to and say, yeah, those two, they're always going to go at it. That is the case for Reed Richards and Doctor Doom, though. So I want to see something that was like, we saw it like a quick glimpse of something like that in Infinity War, like I said. I want to see that, but given a little more love and care with Doomsday. And I'm hoping we get that. I know we only get them in two movies, but I really want to see that. So that's the Reed Richards and Doctor Doom thing that's another topic that I wanted to get into and talk about for a little bit. So that's 3 down. I told you guys I have 5 topics I want to talk about with this movie. The fourth one is, why is Robert Downey Jr. playing Doomsday? That's a completely another character, completely another comic universe. But why is Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom? To be frank, I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'm not hold on. I'm not one of the guys, before y'all kill me, I'm not one of the guys on the internet that was mad when I heard this. Was I a little curious? Was I a little confused? Was I like, what the fuck? Yeah, but I was never mad at it. I was more so intrigued than anything else. Because my thing is, the reason why I'm not mad at it is, I know for sure we're doing a different timeline variant type of thing. So of course there is somebody out there in some universe. Not to mention, there's already been I don't know how many different portrayals of Iron Man, Doctor Doom thing in the comic books. So that's not foreign to me. So my brain was already like, okay, so we could be doing this, we could be doing that. I was not really that confused by it. I was confused that they did it in the MCU as to why, because they didn't really say why yet. We still don't know why. But my thing is, if we're doing variants, if we're doing timelines, if we're doing all this other shit that we could possibly be doing, and it's already been kind of confirmed that we're doing, I just don't know how many timelines we're dealing with in Doomsday. But if that's the thing, and we're already used to the idea of that, okay, yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of timeline out there, some universe out there where Iron Man, or not, I don't even want to say Iron Man because we don't know that yet. Robert Downey Jr. or Doctor Doom looks like Robert Downey Jr. That's not impossible. Like there's, if you think about it, there's a timeline out there where Captain America turns into an Incredible Hulk. Or there's a timeline out there where Hugh Jackman Wolverine, we his face is on Deadpool. Like yeah, it's literally infinite. So yeah, I wasn't really, I wasn't mad at it because I know that that's a thing. We're dealing with different timelines. But I am still curious as to what made Kevin Feige, the Russo brothers, and Robert Downey Jr. all say, you know what, this is a good story. I think we should tell this one. That's what I'm curious about. I don't think that that's a coincidence that they chose him to do that. I've heard things. I'm not spoiling anything for anybody. I have heard things. None of them have been confirmed, of course. We have not seen the movie, of course. When the movie does come out, trust me, I am going to do a spoiler review. We're going to talk about everything from the opening credits to the fucking end credits. So you want to be back for that episode. But my thing is, I've heard some shit here and there, and I'll just put it like this. I'm not mad at, I never was. I'm definitely not mad at what I've heard so far. I'm very curious, even more so curious now than I was before. And I heard some other rumors as well about, I'm not even gonna say it. I've just heard some rumors. I just put it like that. I'm not gonna say it. And the rumors that I have heard have been confirmed. Some of them, they have been confirmed. So I ain't gonna say too much of nothing because I don't want to spoil you guys. I've heard rumors that haven't been confirmed. I've heard some that have been 100% concrete confirmed. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I am just curious to see, and even after the movie comes out, maybe like a year later, like I just want to know like the background story of how this came to be. Like when did they have a script? Did they just have a rough idea? Was it just Robert Downey Jr. saying, "Hey, I kind of want to come back as Iron Man," and Kevin Feige was like, "Maybe not, but what would you be interested in this?" Like I kind of heard how it kind of came to be, but I want more details. Like I really want to know what made them go with this over just them just overdoing or over them just doing somebody fresh to do Doctor Doom, because I know they were talking about the fans wanted Cillian Murphy, who played Oppenheimer in Oppenheimer. People talking about him, which I thought would have been a fucking home run if they casted him as Doctor Doom. I still could see it, and I'm still not mad at it if they eventually go back and cast him as that whenever we're done with Robert Downey Jr. Because like I said, I don't think he's going to be in the MCU as Doctor Doom past Secret Wars. Like I'd be surprised if they did that. And nothing against Robert Downey Jr. in any way, shape, or form. It's just, of course, he's getting up there in age. Does he want to do Marvel movies every 2 to 3 years like he used to? I mean, I'm sure he wants to do other stuff. Get somebody young and fresh to do it, to play Doctor Doom, if that's something they want to do. But I'm just curious to see how it's unveiled that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom in the movie. Like, I know they're saying that Spider-Man is not going to be in Doomsday, but he will be in Secret Wars. Like, I want to see if Peter does see Doctor Doom with his mask off, is he gonna be like, "What the fuck? That's Mr. Stark. That's Mr. Stark. That's not fucking a villain. Like, how is this gonna work? Like, or if Steve Rogers sees quote unquote Doctor Doom, but of course he sees him as Tony. Like, what is he gonna think? What about Rhodey? When Rhodey sees quote unquote Doctor Doom, but it's Tony Stark's face, what is he gonna think? That was his best friend. Like, I'm very curious to see how the characters are gonna react to this. And I don't think it's going to be something that they're going to find out anytime soon. I'm going to just put it like that. I don't think at the beginning of the movie, Doctor Doom is going to walk in the room and talk to the Avengers and say, "Hey, what's up, y'all?" And it's just going to be like, "What the fuck? Is that not Tony? How's Tony?" But I'm very curious to see how it's going to play out in the movie. And I'm sure, bro, I trust the Russo brothers. They ain't had a dud yet when it comes to Marvel. When it comes to the MCU, not only have they not had a dud, their movies are like upper echelon of the MCU. So I know they have a plan in place. I know they're going to hit a home run with this, and I just can't wait to see it. I'm just questioning how it's going to look. That's what I'm curious about, and that's what I'm interested about. So that's my fourth topic regarding Doomsday, which is why is Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. Now my last one is more of a cautionary thing. My last one is more of a I hope this isn't what I think it is thing. My last one is if you do this, you might fuck this movie up type of thing. And that's this. I wrote down, is this just a setup for Secret Wars? Earlier we talked about Infinity War, and I was telling y'all how I feel like the way they panned out Thanos' plan and what he wanted to accomplish from 2012 all the way to what 2018, 19, whenever the Infinity War came, I think it was 2018. The way that they played that out and the way they sprinkled little plots as far as the Thanos popping up here or there, or now the Infinity Stones is here or there, or what's this? Oh, that's an Infinity Stone. Let me explain the Infinity Stones. They did such a good job of setting all that up that you didn't have to do a movie in front of Infinity War to explain Infinity War. And my issue is, like I talked about earlier, I don't think they've done a good enough job as to explain what the real threat is leading into Doomsday for people to be excited to see how they accomplish the threat or how the threat affects the characters we know and love. That's my thing. And the bigger storyline here is not Doomsday. Just to make it clear to you guys that don't really know what the fuck is going on with this movie, the bigger story here is not Doomsday. The bigger story here is Secret Wars, which doesn't come out this year. Like I said, that's December next year. So, with all that being said, I'm just hoping that Doomsday is not just a glorified prequel to uh, Secret Wars. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. Yeah, I'm hoping Doomsday is not just a glorified prequel to Secret Wars. I don't know. Like it's tough to say because sometimes I try to take myself out of things, and by doing that, I'll just like ask one of my friends or family who isn't as big on these movies or comics as I am. I just kind of just will ask them a general question like, "Hey, do you even know what Doomsday is about, or have you ever heard of Secret Wars? Do you even know Secret Wars is coming out next year?" Because a lot of people who I thought were in the know on that, they didn't even know. I'm like, they were like, "Yeah, I don't know when the next Avengers movie is." I'm like, "You don't know? It's literally next year. We're getting one this year, and then we're getting one next year." And they're like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Oh shit!" Once again, the MCU is dropping the ball. We got to get back on track, and that's why I wanted to talk about this because it's like, Infinity War was one movie. It had a plot. It had a beginning, middle, and end. Whether you liked it or not, I know a lot of people felt a certain way about the ending, but we all generally loved it, I would think. But it had a beginning, middle, and end, and that was the end of the story. Thanos wanted to get this Infinity Stones. You watched him get a couple in the first act. You watched him get the last couple of ones in the second, going in the third act, and then at the end of the third act, snapped his fingers, and y'all motherfuckers is grass. Ass is grass. Belt to ass. I ain't trying to rhyme, but it just is what it is. That's what happened, and that was the end of the movie. We literally saw him sit down. He said, "After I kill y'all, after I fuck y'all up, I'm going somewhere, and I'ma just chill. I've done everything I need to do. I'ma just chill." And that's exactly what he did. That was the end of the movie. That was his own separate thing. Infinity War, of course, or Endgame, I should say. Endgame, of course, doesn't work as well without Infinity War, but whether you like it or not, they are both separate movies with separate plots, separate goals, separate things happen. I'm hoping that they find a way to do that with Secret Wars leading, well, not with Secret Wars, with Doomsday leading into Secret Wars. I can't guarantee anything because we haven't seen the movie yet, but the only thing I'm worried about, like I keep saying, the build up for this movie was nowhere near as cohesive as the build up for Infinity War. And Infinity War had the clear stakes, and we knew why they was clear because they set it up for a decade. They didn't do that with Doomsday. It was all over the place. You had incursions over here, timelines over here. You had what did they call it in Deadpool and Wolverine? Something beings. I can't think of the name right now, but it was essentially like every planet or every timeline. I think it was anchor beings or something like that. And if the anchor being dies, the timeline dies. So like, what happened to that storyline? It's like they were throwing so much shit at the wall, hoping something would stick to get the stakes as high as Infinity War, and nothing really stuck. We even almost had Kang as the new big bad after Thanos, and obviously that fell through too for all kind of different reasons. So my main thing is, I hope Marvel can find a way. I know it's gonna be tough. We only got one Marvel movie coming out before Doomsday this year, which is Spider-Man. And if I had to bet my money on it, I don't think there's gonna be much in Spider-Man that's leading into Doomsday. Because to be completely honest, I don't know if y'all know or not, but Doomsday was supposed to come out months before Spider-Man, but they ended up pushing Doomsday to the end of this year. I think actually we may be coming up on what was the, if it didn't pass already, but we may be coming up on what the original date for Doomsday was. So with that being what the plan was, I don't know how much of a crossover Spider-Man is gonna have to Doomsday. It was supposed to come out after Doomsday, so now it's coming out before. I don't really think it's gonna be much in that movie leading us into Doomsday. So I don't know if it's gonna be trailers or I don't know how they're gonna do this shit, but they gotta find a way to make people understand what the stakes is for Doomsday and know that Doomsday is not just how they did Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. It's not gonna be part one, part two. This is one movie here, kind of like what they did with Infinity War, and then next year Secret Wars is one movie here, and I'm so excited for this movie because I explained to you guys before. From what I hear, and this is not a spoiler. From what I hear, and if you guys want to do some homework, I know I advised you guys to, if you were interested, to maybe read Project Hail Mary before the movie, before you guys saw the movie. I don't know how many of y'all did, but if you want to do that for Doomsday, there is a storyline in the comics called Time Runs Out. It's one of my favorite storylines in all of Marvel Comics because it's one of those storylines where your butthole is clenched the whole time. As far as like the shit that's going on and the stakes, like the universe is coming to an end. We don't know how the fuck we gonna survive it. We have an idea what we could do. We have ideas on what we want to do, but and I don't want to spoil anything for you guys who may go read the comic or just look up videos on YouTube or somebody else explaining it. If you don't feel like reading, I understand. Everybody don't got the time for that. But essentially the universe is ending, and it's up to our heroes to figure out how to stop it. And there's ways that they can slow it down and kind of stop it, but it is the most morally gray shit. It is the most I don't know what I would do in that situation shit. Would I do this or would I do that? Would I save this person or would I let this person? It's one of those situations where it's like I'm very curious to see how the characters that we've grown to know and love in the MCU are going to handle some of these decisions, because decisions are going to have to be made on who lives and who dies and why and where and how. And I want to leave it at that. I don't want to spoil it because it's such a good story, and I know the Russo brothers are gonna find a way to pull it off. And I'm saying all this because in the comics, Time Runs Out was his own storyline. Yes, it did lead into Secret Wars, but everything that happened in Time Runs Out, I know it was a lot of build up, it was a lot of explaining shit and all that. But once Time Runs Out ends and leads into Secret Wars, it's very similar to how Infinity War ends. Had a definitive ending, but you still were like, what the fuck? How? Where are they gonna go from here? And then it led into Endgame. That's very similar to Time Runs Out in the comics, leading into Secret Wars in the comics. And from what I'm hearing, Avengers Doomsday is gonna be more of a Time Runs Out story, leading into the Secret Wars that we get next year. So I'm hoping that they can tie this movie up with a bow, even though it's gonna be a big. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just put it like this. I hope they tie this up in a nice bow, because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. We haven't got a trailer yet for Doomsday. I'm actually hoping that we get one this week. I know The Mandalorian and Grogu is coming out, which is a big Disney movie. I know I'm getting off topic, but I'm gonna bring it back home. But like I said, we don't have a trailer yet, so I don't really know how to really gauge on what's a spoiler for you guys or not. I don't know how much how much the information they're gonna divulge in our first trailer. I'm hoping we get it this week. Like I said, I wouldn't bet my money on it, but I'm hoping that we get it this week. It's a big Disney movie. Maybe they'll give us the trailer before Mandalorian. But yeah, I'm just hoping that they find a way to make Doomsday his own thing, Secret Wars his own thing, but it's putting together is one good sandwich. That's what I'm hoping. So those are my 5 things and 5 questions and 5 concerns, however you want to put it, leading into Avengers Doomsday. I'm hoping you guys are as excited for this movie as I am. I know a lot of us online, whether it's comics or just movie film nerds, whatever the case may be, we all looking forward to this movie. Yeah, I'm gonna tie it back into Dune 3. How lucky are we to get both of those movies in the same fucking day? Like, I cannot, oh my god, I cannot fucking wait. I cannot wait. I can't explain to y'all how much I cannot wait for both of these movies in the same day. But I'm gonna go over my quick little list of things that I wanted to talk about for Doomsday one more time. So I wanted to know who is the new team for the Avengers. That's a big thing for me. I want the stakes to be very similar to Infinity War. I would say Endgame as well, but I'm more so of a fan of Infinity War than Endgame, so I want the stakes to be closer to that. I also wanted to see how they're gonna find a way to make the Reed Richards versus Doctor Doom thing. Like I want that to be a prominent thing in the movies, the same way it's a clear and prominent thing in the comic books. I wanted to know why exactly did they choose to cast Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. And I also wanted to know, is this going to be just a setup for Secret Wars, or is it going to be its own thing just leading into Secret Wars? So those are my 5 things that I want to talk about for Avengers Doomsday. But that's enough of me rambling about it. I just told you guys how I feel regarding Avengers Doomsday, but I want to know how you guys feel. I'm really curious to see, are you as excited to see Avengers Doomsday as I am? Do you not really give a fuck? Do you not really care at all? Did I make you more interested in seeing it just from a couple of things that I talked about? Have you guys been all? Are you guys up to date? I should say with everything that's going on with the MCU. I know it's been a lot lately. It's been all over the place, but I am genuinely curious to know what you guys think. But whatever you do think, go down in the comments. Let me know, and we'll go from there. All right. So now that I rambled about Avengers Doomsday enough, like I said at the beginning of the video, we do have a question of the day. This is coming in from, let me make sure I get the name right. This is another one actually from Sweet Teabags. I still think the name is funny. But yeah, so the question of the day is, Loose, in your opinion, what is the most underrated horror movie of all time? So I had to sit on that one for a while. I had to think on it for a while because I'm not the biggest horror movie fan. I've said that so many times. I'm more of like a thriller guy. One genre that I will admittedly say I love when it comes to horror is this, like any slasher movie. Like if it's like, not really Freddy Krueger, but I would say like a Jason Voorhees movie. I like a lot of the Halloween. I won't say all of them, but I like a lot of the Halloween movies. I like a lot of the Scream movies too as well. But so yeah, essentially, if it's a good slasher movie, I would definitely want to check it out if it's done right. But admittedly, I'm just not a big fan of horror movies, so I really had to think. It's kind of a tie for me, but I do have a clear winner. One of the ones I was gonna say is The Mist. I'm really, I'm really a big fan of that movie. Like I saw it when I think I was maybe 12. I don't know why. I don't know why the fuck my parents let me watch that movie. I remember my dad actually he had the bootleg. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. He didn't take me to go see it. He had the bootleg. But I remember we watched that movie together. Me, my mom, and my dad. We watched the movie together, and the whole movie is good. The movie itself is good, but the fucking the ending of that movie melted my little prepubescent brain. Like I was like, what the wait, what the fuck? That was how? Why did you? That film has sat with me for years. I am a 30-year-old adult grown man now, fully grown, and I still can't get over what the fuck happened at the end of that movie. For y'all who know, if you know, you know. But yeah, I still can't get over the ending of that movie. But that's not my pick. My pick for the most underrated movie, in my humble opinion, is The Crazies. The Crazies is, I don't want to essentially call it a, I don't want to call it a zombie movie, but it's kind of like it's kind of a zombie movie. There's really no other way I can put it. There's an infection that happens in a small town, and essentially people start going batshit crazy in in the city that they live in. It's a movie. It's actually starring Timothy Olyphant. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's the main character, and he's like the sheriff in the town. And he has a deputy, he has a wife, and all that other stuff. But there's a plane that crashes. Well, it actually they don't even show the plane crash. They end up finding the plane and figuring out what made everybody sick. There was some experimental drug or experimental bioweapon that was on a military plane, and the military plane ended up crashing in I think it was like a lake or a river or something in the city. But essentially, that's where the town got its water supply from. So whatever that little biohazard shit was that was on the plane, it ends up infecting the whole town. No pun intended, but craziness ensues, and I watch it every Halloween. Actually, I have the Blu-ray. I have the physical copy of that movie, and I ended up losing it for like 2 years, and I was so mad because that movie is not like it's one of those movies that's like it'll stream for maybe like a month or 2 3 months or something like that, and then it just will be non-existent for a year. So I didn't have the physical, I couldn't stream it, and I was just pissed off because that's one of my favorite, if not probably just my favorite horror movie of all time. And I know the question is what's the most underrated, but I just got to go with my personal opinion. I'm sure there's so many other movies that people will say are slept on or whatever the case may be, but mine is The Crazies. I saw that one in the theater with my sister and my brother-in-law. They were dating at the time, but essentially my brother and my sister because he's one of my best friends. I saw that in the theaters, and I just remember everybody in the movie theater just being so tense, like especially the scene, one of the most iconic scenes from the movie, where it's one of the characters he does something with a pitchfork. I'm just put it like that. I remember the whole audience just like ooh and oh my god, turn around, and like it was such a thing, and I always just every time I watch that movie, even by myself or just with my fiance or something like that, I still get the same chills and the same feeling that I got seeing that movie all those years ago. But yeah, that's for sure, in my opinion, the most underrated horror movie of all time. I just feel like it does not get its just due. It does not get the credit that it deserves for being just a not even just a good horror movie. It's just a good movie, period. Like I can't suggest that movie enough to anybody who has not seen it. So to answer your question, sweet tea bags, yes, The Crazies is what I think is the most underrated horror movie of all time. Admittedly spoken for somebody who's not a big big horror fan, but that's the answer to your question. But yeah, we had a pretty good show today. I didn't think we were gonna run this long, but hey, here we are, 40 minutes in. But once again, I appreciate all you guys continuing to listen to me ramble about movies, just rambling about shit that I love and care about. And I like you guys sticking with me. I like you guys leaving your comments and telling me what you think about, whether it's movies that are coming out or movies that I just talked about and whatever the most recent episode is. Once again, I am curious to see what you guys think about Avengers Doomsday. And I also want to give you guys you just throw this out there again. I just obviously did a question of the day. If there's something that you guys would like to hear me talk about, give my opinion on, or you want to have maybe even a debate, like I've given an example of, oh, Loose, I think the most recent The Batman movie is better than 2008's The Dark Knight. Let's fight about it. Let's talk about it. If it's something that I feel like is interesting enough and it's regarding movies and something I feel like we can have a good conversation about, go down in the comments. Put question of the day, comma, question of the day, semicolon, question of the day, all caps, and then type out whatever question you have or whatever. And if I feel like it's something that we can have a good conversation about, I might put it in one of our future episodes. So I just don't want to stress that enough, or I can't stress that enough, I should say. If you guys want questions of the days in there, just put in the comments, and I might put in the video if I think it's interesting enough. But once again, enough of how I feel about all this stuff. Go down in the comments, let me know what you think, and once again, I appreciate you guys. And until next time, peace.